Hello and welcome. I'm Lexie and this is the Travelling Sewist series. In this series, I will take you to inspirational places and talk to inspirational sewists and creatives, like-minded people, and share their stories along the way. Welcome to episode 1 of the Travelling Sewist. Alrighty, welcome to my channel.
Having me.
Do you want to give yourself a little intro?
Yeah, sure. So my brand is Whimsy Kaleidoscope, and I am the designer and the wearer of all the hats in my little biz. And yeah, I create designs and predominantly license and create really fun fabrics for people.
So why the name Whimsy Kaleidoscope?
That's a good question. So before I started my business, I had like a proper spreadsheet of like all the things that I needed to do before I could like start, and like, you know, like ABN, like all those things, and one of them was like business name, and I had all these like words, and I just did this like almost like a word dump where I had all the words that I really liked, and I thought about like what I wanted my brand to be, and like it was color and fun, and yeah, Whimsy just I feel like encapsulates that. And then Kaleidoscope is just like when I like, because when I think of words I often like visualize things, and kaleidoscope I feel just ties in with that, like a kaleidoscope of color.
So did you do any design like school or anything like that? Hey, sorry to interrupt, but I have something so exciting for you guys. I will be giving away 1 meter of Whimsy's brand new linen fabric. To enter, comment the code word that will be hidden in this episode somewhere down below, and I will pick a winner. This is an exclusive offer for Australians only, purely just because of the cost. Good luck.
So I did study. I went back. So whilst I was still working my full-time job, I went back and studied, and I did a diploma in surface pattern design. So I did, and I think when I did the course, there wasn't a lot of like easy accessible information on how to create repeat patterns, or what even a surface pattern designer was, and like how to put patterns onto textiles. So I feel like when I did it, because I think it was about 7 or maybe even 8 years ago now.
Oh, wow.
The information was quite like, I did a lot of Google searching and things.
Yeah.
The information was pretty limited, so I did decide to do a diploma, but I really don't know, like it was great and I learned so much, like, you know, you do all the you know, you learn about the basics of design and like color and all those things, and it sort of encapsulates it all in the course. And then I also learned Illustrator and Photoshop too, which really helped me, because I feel like learning those programs on your own can be quite overwhelming. Okay. But I don't feel as though you need to have that to, like, it's just about starting and creating and make, because even once I completed the course, it still took me a number of years before I even found like my design style or anything like that. But if you scroll right back to my Instagram,
I already have.
I was doing like a lot of collage and just painting back then.
Yep.
So it wasn't digital, and I was really keen to figure out how to get it like onto things, and like how do people, and there were some artists that I was already following back in the day on Instagram, and I was like, how did they do that, and how did they work with that brand? So I just got really curious, and sort of that's how it evolved.
Yeah, I think that has changed so much with that big C word. Yeah. Everything's online now, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like even basic like desk jobs are now, everyone's at home and doing it all online.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
it's made, I think, for someone like yourself, or someone wanting to get into surface design and stuff like that, it's just at your fingertips, literally now.
There's so much free information, but in saying that, free information only gets you so far too. Okay. I do feel you do have to invest, whether it's in an online course. There are a lot of designers that have worked in the industry for a long time that also offer lots of courses too, okay. Different types of courses too. So yeah, there's so much more information out there now.
Yeah. Now you said you use Illustrator. Yeah. Do you use that mostly as your main thing now?
Yeah, well, so most of most of my work is, well, all of my work is digital. So I use the iPad and I use a program called Procreate. So I sort of flip between Procreate and I sometimes use Adobe Fresco as well, just depending on,
I've dabbled.
Yeah. But I just like, I'm at a point now where I'm really like into a specific workflow, and if I have to change it, it just slows me right down.
What makes you go from one to the other?
It just depends on what, like, if most of the time, if I'm just creating, I'll use Procreate, but if I'm making something for a specific client and they want it in vector format, then I'll use Fresco.
Because Procreate don't do vector?
No, so it's all pixel, so it uploads directly to Photoshop, so, and which is what I use predominantly as well. And I'm just a bit lazy, like I probably should do more in Illustrator, but I just can't. I don't have the energy to just try and do things like freeform in Fresco, so I only use it if I have to use it. Yeah.
So what's the difference with Illustrator then? Because that's more click-based, wouldn't it be? Like you don't have that pen, or can you do it?
Yeah, no, you can. You can do both. The biggest difference is just the file. So one's vector, one's raster, or pixels. So, if a client needs something in a vector format, it's usually because they want to be able to just change the scale without it. Like if you take an image and then make it big, it will become pixelated.
Okay.
I usually work in quite large file formats, so going big is never too much of a problem, and going small is never a problem. But if you want to go bigger and bigger, then that's where it becomes a problem. And I think back in the days where a lot of digital printing, you used to have to be able to use, well, they would like the format in like Illustrator files. But now most printers are flexible. Most clients are pretty flexible as well with their file formats. But yeah, Illustrator obviously does vector, so therefore you can change the scale and make it as big as you want to, and it's not going to affect the image quality.
Yeah, so let's talk about the process. What do you do to get your designs on your fabric?
So, well, more often than not, I'm literally just playing and creating, because I do too. I license artwork, and then I obviously have my fabric collections too. So, well, at the moment, I don't feel as though I'm creating anywhere near enough as what I should be or I'd like to be. But more often than not, I am just creating for building my portfolio. So I'll often send out artwork to different brands, and whether I've worked with them before or not. And then also, sharing things on Instagram. So that obviously generates interest from different brands. But then for my own fabric collections, sometimes in the beginning, I wasn't planning very much. The first collection I did, I remember I just literally was like, I love these designs. No one's licensed them. I want them out in the world. So I just chose, I think it was 5 designs, and they all sort of worked cohesively with the color palette, and decided to go with those. But as time's gone on, I've sort of learned that it's really fun to create cohesive collections that tie in with color or a theme. And I really love it as well when people mix and match different fabrics, because that's probably one of the things that I love seeing, is that when sewists get really creative and create garments or, just fun things that are using different fabrics within a collection, and from different collections too. Like I actually had a girl send me a photo, and she had created a jumpsuit using the Pixie Girls and the Roller Girls fabric together, and it was just epic. Like it was so fun. So I really love creating things that can be mixed and matched. But yeah, more often than not, I will just sit down and I'll have a look at what I've got, what designs I really love, and at the moment, if there are things that I know that I really want to put onto fabric, I don't sort of send that out to a client or put on Instagram, because I don't want to like put that out there and then be like, oh, I don't want to give this up. But
I think that's your license as the artist.
Yeah.
Like, you could totally do that. That's totally fine.
I'll tend to hold on to certain ones that I really, really love. And then I'll sometimes think, I need a gingham, or I need something that will tie in, and then I might create something specific to work with it. But other times it might just be, I love these 3. And they're all the same color palette, and they work really well together. So they'll become my fabric collection, or I'll put it aside and think I'll just add one more in, and then we're done. So Yeah.
And a little birdie tells me you brought some fabric along to show us.
I did. So I've got some Christmas fabric here, which is so fun. So this was the mini cute things, which is one of the most popular ones.
And is this the smallest scale that
yeah,
you do as well?
Yeah, this was the smaller scale, which I feel like it's hard to show scale sometimes online. It's like people, when they see it in real life, they go, oh yeah, okay, that is a nice scale. And then the polka dots, which was yeah, it was another fun one that I recreated, because we've got this in a few different colorways too. So this one came to me as an epiphany in the shower, because I had cute things and I wanted to create a Christmas collection, and then I was just like, Christmas cute thing, like of course I've got to do cute things, but a Christmasified version.
Yeah.
So yeah, I had some pre-existing elements already, like the Buddy the Elf and a few other bits, and then yeah, drew some other elements to go in there with it.
I love it. It's very very cool.
It's so fun.
Is the polka dots, is that the same scale as well?
Oh, so this one only came in one scale. So I don't do every single print in different multiple scales. Yeah, so more often than not, I'll only do like so if it's an illustrative design and I know that it's...
What does illustrative design mean?
So as in like it's got images in it rather than something that's a little bit more abstract.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So like if you were to sew with this and you were cutting it up, it's not going to matter if you cut off the polka dots, right? But if you want to make a kid's dress, you want to be able to fit as much of the print within the garments. So that's why with like my Pixie Girls and with this one, I have got a smaller scale, just so that, because I feel people will want that for their kids too, or to make smaller things with, just so that they can, you know, get as much in the whatever it is that they're making.
Absolutely. And I've seen quite a lot of people even making like little bags and things like that. So
exactly.
Yeah, I think it's fantastic to have different scale, because you can't get that everywhere.
No,
like, you know, you can't go to Spotlight and go, oh, but I want it in that small scale or in that different type of fabric, because you've got a few different fabric bases, don't you?
Yeah, so we've got 3 at the moment. So we've got a lightweight, it's almost like a cotton, it's not a cotton poplin, but it's really soft. It's so, I wish like people could touch and feel it all the time, because it's so hard to sometimes describe.
Okay.
But it's a really soft flowy fabric. A lot of people in Queensland, I get a lot of customers from Queensland that will purchase that fabric, because I think that it's just really, and it's really nice to wear just all year round.
Is that pure cotton?
Yeah, it's 100% cotton. Yeah. And then I've got this one, which is the midweight, which, like I say, it's still
pretty thin.
It's really soft. So this is 150 GSM, and it's quite soft. But it has structure to it. Like I'm wearing it at the moment, so you can still obviously wear it for clothing. And then we've got a cotton canvas, which is it's a 250 GSM.
Okay.
That sounds really thick, but it's not stiff. Like it's very soft still, and you can still use it for clothing, and but then you can use it for homewear type products too. And we're introducing a new fabric, which I'm so excited about. So we're going to do...
Tell us?
Yeah, because you're not going to release this. Well, I'm announcing the new fabric next week anyway.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah. So we'll have a cotton linen blend, which will be really nice.
Oh, yeah. That I feel will be a really good one for Queensland as well.
Yeah, I love linen. And linen's a funny one, because I don't think that you can do all your prints, especially the prints that I have, on linen, because linen has that texture to it. So but the collection that I have for introducing the linen is really beautiful, so it'll work really well.
Really excited. Have you done any sneak peeks?
No, I haven't.
So excited. Oh, I can't wait. I mean, you guys, you know, you'll already have seen this, but I haven't, so you know, I can be excited.
That's it.
Because you do a lot of like little like you do a lot of content on your Instagram, and I hats off to you, because I can't keep up with that amount of content, honestly.
Yeah.
Because it's not your full-time job.
No, it's not.
Despite the fact that it looks like it, it's not. So I think that's really important. It's something that I've noticed a lot lately for the Instagram world. people don't understand that you're a person behind there. They just think you've just got to keep churning all this. You know, it's easy. It's easy to churn out all this content. No, it's not so taxing, isn't it?
Yeah, there's a lot of time and work that goes into it. I am fortunate that with my day job, I do, well, since COVID, I've been working from home, so that has really allowed for a lot of flexibility, which is nice. But it's about planning, like, and even, you know, at the moment it's like, okay, I need to film something, or I need to photograph something, the light, so I need to do it between like midday and 3 o'clock before I lose that light. So, you know, I really plan, like, and try and work through that. And I think the more I do it, the faster I'm getting, especially with, you know, reels and things like that. But it does. And sometimes it's not fun having to create content for the sake of it. Like, I try and do things as, I guess, organically as possible. But sometimes it doesn't work out that way, because a lot of my creating happens at, like, you know, 9 o'clock at night while I'm sitting on the couch and the pugs are sitting on me. So,
what are the names of your pugs?
Penny and Spike.
Oh, they're so cute. I love it when you show a little sneak peek of them.
Because they have even featured in a couple of your fabrics as well, haven't they? Or your designs. Like, I shouldn't just call them fabrics, because you are a designer at heart, aren't you? Like, But I when I was scrolling way back in those deep crevices of your Instagram, I found a couple of little pug.
There was a pug design.
So cute. Yeah. Should bring them back, I think. Christmas pugs.
That could be a thing.
Oh my god, that was so cute.
That would be fun.
It can be a real downer though too, like having to have all that content. Like, it can, so I've noticed lately you've been doing a few challenges and stuff as well. Like, do you feel like that's what you have needed lately, just to get you back in that flow?
Oh, definitely. I did a design challenge, I think in June, was it? July? June, and then I'm doing another one. Well, mostly. I have dropped off now. But it's almost like an accountability thing for me. Like, if I don't have that reason to create something, it sometimes can be quite just a block. But if I need to show up for something, it sort of not forces it, but it really pushes me to just push at something. And there was actually funny, it was a design that I did for one of the pattern challenge that I'm doing at the moment, and I think the prompt was surf, and like, I just created this like abstracty like wave print, and I just didn't love it, and I was like, why don't I push myself? Like, why don't I draw some girls on a surfboard? Like, that would be really cool. And I'm like, but that's really hard, and it's going to take a little bit longer. And then I was like, just do it. And I just worked away at it for like, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 nights, just like sketching, and then and then it all came. I was actually really, really happy with it in the end. So I
don't think I've seen it. Now I really want to go back and have a look.
Yeah, I think it was from maybe like 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago.
I'll have to have a look. I love like all that surfy vibe, so that would be right up my alley. Do you think any of them that you have done from your challenges recently, like, you might bring out?
I'm not sure. It's hard. To be fair, I've like, with the fabric collections, I do have to plan so far in advance.
How far in advance?
So I've already sampled a collection for like January next year.
Wow.
Yeah, and I need to start, like, I really need to start working through, like, because more often than not I will get some makers or other brands involved, just so that I guess from a sharing perspective, that you know, people can see different, because to be fair, I'm a beginner sewist. Like,
I was gonna say, because you are sewing. I have seen
I do
you.
sew, but it's like, I have made my own clothes now as well. I can say that, because I have made a couple of tops. But
good job.
It's not fast, and I take my hat off to all the sewists that, you know, it's not an easy feat. So
it's not.
and it obviously eats into time. So it's a lot easier for me to do some things, but then also get help from my maker community.
But you're doing the designs, you being a businesswoman, like, it's not as simple as going, I'm gonna do everything.
You can't.
No, it's a challenging thing, and you want to be able to show, because I feel that people, especially when you're selling fabric online, like, you know, people like to touch and feel and see it on the body or see it as something. So it's really, really important for me to have And I love getting other makers involved because I've got such a lovely community of people that I've worked with and I've known for a few years now that just, they're so passionate about my fabrics that I'm just like, well, of course I want them to create something.
Yeah.
So it's really fun and they imagine things and create things that I would never be able to create or even dream of making. So
never say never. I always say, especially when it comes to sewing.
Yeah.
Even the most experienced sewists, like, they still have something that maybe they've never tried.
Yeah.
So never say never.
That's true. I do have I have a dress pattern at the moment that I'm really keen to try. So
what is it?
It's a simple there's no zips. There's no
no closures.
Yeah. So it's looks relatively simple. It's kind of like a smock patchwork dress. So but so I
patchwork, my goodness, girl. You are like jumping in the deep end with that one.
So there are a number of variations. Like you can just do the 3 tiers as 3 different panels, but I really want to like patchwork it up.
What's the brand? Like
Fiber Mood was was the pattern. The patterns from them. So
yeah, even I haven't done patchwork yet. It's something that I have I really do want to, and I feel like with your fabrics it would be so good to pull so many different things, because like again with your color palette, you actually think about that, you know, and how that's all going to tie together, so that'd be perfect.
I feel like it would be fun if I can pull it off. We'll see. Fingers crossed.
That'll be so good. I can't wait to see that. And don't worry if it takes you another 2 years to make it. Like, who cares? But don't worry, I'll be hounding you.
How's that dress going?
Yeah, exactly. So where do you get your inspo from? Do you just come to you in the shower?
Sometimes. I feel like that is such a hard question for me to answer. Sometimes I will think, I really want to create a design that's got a unicorn in it, for example.
Yeah.
And then like I'll write down unicorns on just like a list of like things that I would like to, like a design I'd like to create one day, and then it might just sit there for months and months and months. And then sometimes it's literally like I might just see a color combination, or I'm looking at old work and going, I can use that element, and that'll sometimes be the launching pad for a completely new design. I'm just trying to think of a specific example, like with the Roller Girls design, for example. I wanted to do something with girls that were like dressed really, really fun, and I wanted it to be rainbows and stars, like, because I just love that whole 80s vibe. And I think the way that came about was like I'd drawn one girl, and I actually drew just some feet. I've got a print in my online store that's got a girl with roller skates, and it's just her feet, and there's a rainbow in the background, and that kind of was the starting point for the Roller Girls design. And then I drew one girl, and I think there was a rainbow in the background, and then that set the tone, and then I just sort of drew more girls on their own, and then I was like, okay, how can I bring this together? So sometimes it can just be something else that I've done a little while ago and I've just sort of forgotten about it, and then I look back on it, and sometimes there's no one thing. Like I know there are a lot of artists that are very like for example, like someone that loves to draw like Australiana and botanicals, and they're really inspired by nature and what's around them. I'm probably heavily inspired by the weather, which in terms of my color palette, like if you sometimes, like I will probably use a lot of navies and purples and blues throughout my work during winter, and then in summer it'll be more pastel and yellow and things like that.
I have actually noticed that.
But aside from that, like theme wise, I'm still going to draw like bright, vibrant, fun stuff. Whether it's winter or summer. So I'm not as I'm not so much about what's around me. It's sort of what's going on in my head. I listen to a lot of music when I work, and that often will spark an idea, like, or if I'm just driving, like even like, because I don't spend a lot of time in the car anymore, but when I do, I could be like, like there might be a line in a song, and I'll sort of visualize something, and then that will sort of spark an idea. So
that's cool.
You have mentioned about not really being an Australiana kind of person,
Mm-hmm.
yet you drew the most gorgeous little kookaburras.
Oh, thank
That
you.
was so cute.
They were
I
fun.
was like, please bring them out. I love Australiana stuff. So when
Yeah.
you did that, I was like, yes, go girl.
There are so many other artists that do
I
such a
know.
beautiful job. Yeah, and I think going back to what inspires me, I really will draw. Like I love drawing things that resonate with me, and then
Yeah.
that in turn resonates with my audience. Like rollers, like
course.
I've done like lots of roller skates and roller girls and like the pixie girls. Like it's just I draw a lot from like my childhood and like
Yeah.
memory and nostalgia and cute and quirky, like because that's just my thing. Like if someone just said to me, oh, can you please draw like llamas, I'd just be like, but why would I draw a llama? Like that's not my vibe.
Yeah.
Sometimes I do, like for a pattern challenge will push me out of that zone. So I did for a pattern challenge recently, I drew some cheetahs, which I wouldn't normally have drawn, but I did them in like that was so still whimsy because the cheetahs were pink and yellow and teal blue, and they had these fun moons and stars in the background, and it was my vibe. So yeah, it has to, even if the theme is maybe not necessarily something I would usually draw, I still have to be able to do it in my style.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think there's a place for everyone as well.
Yeah.
You know, not everyone loves that 80s vibe.
Yeah.
But there are so many people out there that do.
Yeah.
So, you know.
And I like to have I try to have a good mix of abstract and more like conversational illustrative prints. Because I actually started, when I first started designing, 90% of what I was creating was really abstract.
Okay.
All sorts of shapes and collage-y type designs. But as time's gone on, I do really love like doing illustrative and conversational.
Yeah, and they're really cool. I'm really loving what you're bringing out. You had a collection, Palm Springs.
Oh yes.
What inspired that one?
I tried, like we went to Palm Springs a few years ago. Yeah. I always get confused by the years.
Yeah.
2019, I think. It was before COVID.
Yeah.
And I loved it there. And so Shannon, who has the brand Pretty Parcel, she also loves Palm Springs. And quite often, like if I create something that I know that she'll love, I'll show her, and she just falls in love. And yeah, that was what inspired that. So yeah, my travels, all those sorts of things inspire different designs.
But please forgive my ignorance, but there are dinosaurs on that design.
Yeah.
Why the dinosaurs?
So in Palm Springs, if you haven't been, I can't think of the name, but so when you're driving, because I think there's like only one main highway sort of in and out between like LA and Palm Springs.
Okay.
And on like the road trip through, there's this massive random, there's these two dinosaurs on the side of the road, and it's actually I'm not going to say it's a theme park because it's not. It's a stop that you can go in, and you can, there's like a shop, and it's got all dinosaur themed stuff.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the big pineapple kind of like, it's like that.
Okay. So it has no relevance really to the area.
Well, it's on the way into Palm Springs.
No, but like as in the fact that there's dinosaurs there. That has no
relevance whatsoever. But yeah, it's like this random shop. Yeah.
Cool. Like,
so that's why it's there.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, I like that though, because that has now made me go, what is at Palm Springs?
Yeah,
like,
I can't think of the name of the place now. Okay. Yeah. Google dinosaurs Palm Springs. It'll come up.
Sounds very fun.
Yeah.
So, being a designer, you have a lot of brands that would come to you. What are some of those brands that you've worked with?
Gosh, I gotta think of everyone now. Do you mean for fabric or licensing?
Probably, well, more so like who have you, not necessarily licensed, but like who's buying your stuff that are making like outfits and stuff like that.
Okay. The two brands that I know that are relatively consistent with buying fabric and creating clothing is Pretty Parcel, and there's another brand called Bunny and Wolf.
Oh yes.
Yeah, so they they're both lovely friends of mine as well. Like, they're just the sweetest girls. So but there are a handful. Like, there's another brand, Colourpop Designs. She does like overalls. Sometimes there are brands that buy from me. I actually I don't know that they're buying for a brand. Like, there was one lady who has bought, like, she sometimes buy up to 10 meters, and I'm like, what is she making with all of this fabric? And I didn't realize she had a clothing label.
Yeah.
So sometimes people will purchase things from me and they won't, their brand name won't be on the invoice or anything. So I don't even realize until they share something on Instagram, or sometimes like they'll share it on their business page, but they've purchased it from their, like, just their name, and so I don't put two and two together right away.
Yeah. So it is okay to buy your fabrics and then sell them.
That's the whole well, that was one of the biggest drivers for me when doing fabric, was that I had a lot of people that just, from a budget perspective, licensing just wasn't feasible for them, and from a I guess a production perspective as well for them, that they might only be making 10 things or 10 whatever the case might be. So this is a really accessible way then for anyone to just buy my fabric, and then if they want to put it on products, they can.
So did you start sewing after you started selling your fabrics?
No, I definitely have been. I've sewn on and off. I've had my sewing machine for at least a good 10 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Really?
So
are you still classing yourself as a beginner?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. Because I would probably only make like a cushion cover.
Okay. Yeah.
Really, really basic stuff. I did do a sewing class probably whilst I was still in the process of like thinking about my business. And I did, it was like a beginner's crash course, basically, like how to, like, from literally how to thread the machine, like, and to, I think we made like a cushion cover, we made a little zipper pouch, like real, like, and something else with a button. So teaching you all the basics. And that was brilliant because you like, and then it becomes muscle memory, right?
Yeah.
But to be fair, my nan, so my mum's mum, and I think this is where everything stems from for me. So she used to, one of the houses that she used to live in when we were little, her back room was just, and this was like a massive room, floor to ceiling, just with fabric. She had massive like tables with sewing machines set up. We would stay there like on school holidays and stuff, and she'd cut all 5 of us, so there's me and my cousins off to the fabric shop, and we'd just be running amok through the fabric shop. And this wasn't even Spotlight then, this was just like the local fabric shop.
It probably would have been just like a what are they called, quilting cottons and all that sort of thing.
And then like in her back room, like she'd have just, for me it was like a treasure trove. Like I'd open a tin and there'd be buttons and then trims and lace, and it just was like this visually like a pleasing thing. And I think that's where, because I would literally go to Spot before I even, like, my business was even like a twinkle in my eye. I used to go to Spotlight, and I would just go and buy 1/2 meter cuts of fabric that I liked because I liked the fabric and did nothing with it.
I think we've all been there.
So,
I can guarantee you.
And like the lady would be cutting, going, so what are you making? And I'd be like, nothing.
That was totally me too.
Yeah, and I've still got, like, I've got a lot of fabric that I've just stashed away because it's just so, like, I just love it. But then eventually I did get a sewing machine, and I've just sort of dropped in and out, but I've never persisted because it's just, it's like a time thing, right?
Yeah.
But having fabric has really pushed me, because I feel as though, like, when you're running a business, it's like, okay, I need to be mindful of where I'm spending my time, and there's a fine line between, like, procrastinating and creating and then doing the biz things. And I feel at least now I can guilt-free sew, because I'm literally doing it for my business. So, but it's also very selfish.
Yeah.
So it's for me too.
No, that's totally fine. I think it's totally fine to be selfish.
Yeah.
Especially when it's a creative outlet.
Yeah.
And it's I know a lot of my followers and a lot of my friends even, they do this because it's therapeutic.
Yeah. And it is. And it's also, for me, it's like getting off my phone, getting off the computer or my iPad, and like another, I've been knitting as well, which is just another, like, it's just another creative outlet for me that you know, sort of takes me away, and it's meditative, and it sort of makes you slow down. I feel sewing does the same thing.
Yeah, it's beautiful, and I love watching all your knitting stuff as well. Like this cardigan is just so fun.
So fun. So much fun. It's just perfect for Melbourne as well.
Oh,
for like 9 months of the year.
Don't remind me. So primarily, how many meters would you say is your base go-to of fabric? Like, do you really only go as far as, because you do pre-orders, do you really only get that much and that's it, or?
No, I do order extra.
Yeah.
Like, from a perspective of like, if we cut it wrong.
Yes.
Or if there's flaws in the fabric once we receive it, to be able to then cut around, you know, especially if it's a significant flaw, like you've got to be able to cut it off and start again. So no, I definitely always print a little bit extra. I'm very mindful of, like, from a sustainability and wastage perspective, I hate the idea of like having hundreds and hundreds of meters of something just sitting around that's never going to get used.
Definitely.
So I never know what to expect with a fabric release. I never know what prints are going to, and I feel like I should know what my customers are going to love, but they always surprise me.
Yeah.
So I always end up ordering extra of, I guess, the more popular prints, because that tends to be then after the fact what people are then asking for. So I'll have a little bit extra of that on hand for those little retail releases that I do, which give me so much anxiety because I love the idea of having a pre-order and people can buy at their, as someone who buys things, I hate the pressure of buying something really, really quickly and having to make a snap decision without thinking, and I don't like to put that on my customers. Unfortunately, in the environment and the world that we live in, like, I don't have a shop front where I can go, hey, like, come and grab my fabric whenever suits. So, you know, it just means that with all the extra fabric that I have, then I do those retail releases for whatever is left over, but I have to order extra.
Now I have actually met you at a market before.
Yeah.
So are you kind of just doing that sporadically? Do you feel like you want to keep doing that a little bit more?
I have applied for Little Beauty again for this year. So, and markets are just a completely different ball game to like online, like, because people are meeting you generally for the first time as well, and they're like, oh, you're very colourful. Like, that's what I always get. And then the 5-year-olds are like up in like touching everything and are loving everything. And then Mum's like, come on, time to go. But so I feel like markets are a great way to meet people face to face, and just get amongst the community. And I really, really love doing them. And I do have a selection of art prints and it's a great opportunity as well to take fabric down if I happen to have it for people to touch, feel and see, because I have had some local people and even people that aren't local that might drive from the other side of the city and come down and say hi, which is so sweet. So I love that. But it's not something that, at least at the moment, it's not something that I'm doing as a religious or like, you know, I'm going to have market season. Like, I'm just sort of drop in and out when it's sort of, it's going to suit. And work around other things that are going on.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I mean, you've got a lot going on, let's be honest.
Yeah. I mean, there are markets like Finders Keepers Market, which I think, oh, that would be so fun to do. But I feel like if I was gonna do something like that, I'd have to have either like a significant amount of product, which I just don't have. And I don't think people go to those kinds of markets to buy fabric by the meter.
No, and that's the hard thing too. We are unique here in Australia where we don't have that. I know that there are other parts of the world that have like full fabric markets.
Yeah.
And like it would be
brilliant.
Yeah, I wish we had that.
Yeah. I feel like there's definitely like a sewing community of people that would enjoy it and get a lot out of it.
Maybe we should start one together.
Yeah, I know, right?
Except I'm moving, so that's not gonna work. Sorry.
But yeah, it's and because people want to touch and feel and see. So, but yeah, maybe one day, who knows?
So most of your stuff is 100% cotton. It's wovens. Would you ever do knits?
Yeah, I definitely. So, I I'd love to do swim fabric. I'd love to do like jersey. I'd love to do lots of different kinds of fabrics. But it's also one of those things for me where I want to have 100%, I want to be 100% happy with the quality of the fabric and the use of the fabric, and being able to test that takes time. Yes. So that's one of the hurdles. Okay. And the other hurdle is also because I do pre-order, the more variations, sometimes the trickier it gets. And like, to be perfectly honest, with like, for example, I've got 3 fabrics at the moment. The lightweight and the midweight fabric are by far the 2 bases that people purchase over canvas, for example. So sometimes I think you can have so many options for people, but then people will still, and it's even from a design, like having 9 designs in a collection, like that is massive. There are probably only 3 or 4 designs that really like people that were the most popular, and then people might dip in and out of a couple of the others. So so it's definitely learning what customers want, but then also doing what works for me as a business as well.
Absolutely. I understand that. It's just that, like, I'm more of a knit sewer. So for me, I'm like, I look at your stuff and I'm just like, please, I would love that in a pair of like leggings or, like you say, swimwear. Like, some of your stuff would be so cool in swim.
And I think also not every, like we were talking about the linen before, like not every design translates well on every fabric base. And I don't know going forward as well how to whether, like, say for example we did do knits, whether then to have the entire collection available on that fabric base, or then we go, well, we think these 3 prints would look best, so only make that available, because I would hate for then a customer to order and go, this doesn't look great on this fabric base, or it hasn't, like, especially when you're doing like pixie girls or whatever, like sometimes it may not print as nicely as what it would on like a woven.
And then I suppose you've got to take into account, like, if it gets stretched, it's going to look a bit weird too. But that's part of the testing. Okay, I totally I can appreciate that now. That you say that.
Like there are brands out there or businesses out there that aren't Spotlight but that are online fabric stores, and there are some that literally will have all of the designs, all the fabric bases, and it's like choose your own adventure, and that's totally fine, but I don't feel that that's where I want to sit. I definitely there are other brands that probably work in, maybe not in the pre-order sense, but that will only put certain designs on certain fabric bases, and that's sort of, I think, where that's why I've sort of been really reluctant to put too many options into the mix. But I have had a lot of people ask me for knit. I've had a lot of customers ask me for swim as well. So those are the 2 that I definitely would love to be able to work with in the future.
All right, well, I think that's it. Thank you so much for coming on and chatting.
Problem. Thank you so much for having me. It was so fun to talk to you.
Yeah, it was great to see a little snapshot into your life and see into the kaleidoscope.
Thank you.
Thank you again, and we'll talk to you guys again soon.